So in the previous lesson, you discussed about how to use open educational resources in teaching and learning. You have also been able to search for a number of open educational resources. Let us now discuss the second lesson, which will be focusing more on how we create open educational resources. So in this lesson, we want you to be able to create your own open educational resources, which might be in different forms depending on what you want to do. So it can be a document, it can be an image, it can be a video, but we want you to be able to create something of your own. So lesson 4.1 will focus on why create your own open educational resources. But before we move on, let us think, have you ever created any educational resources of your own? If yes, what kind of teaching resources or teaching aids have you created before? Maybe you might have created an image, you might have created a picture or video. Now, if you have done that, please share your ideas in the discussion forum of what you have been able to create before. So there is an activity in the discussion forum that will be activity 4, where you have to share about what you have been able to learn. What you have been able to create in terms of open educational resources. Now, so by the end of this lesson, 4.1, you will be able to explain why you need to create your own open educational resources. In the previous lesson, we discussed about we discussed about how we create open educational resources and why we use open educational resources, how we adapt these resources in teaching and learning, and the 5 principles of 5 R's of how to use open educational resources. Now, in this lesson, we are going to discuss about why do we really need to create our open educational resources. Now, the following are some of the reasons that might come in your mind when you think of creating an open educational resource. The first reason is that if you have been able to search for a number of resources, you might have seen that many of the resources might be in different languages and might be not localized to the context where you're coming from. So you find that some of the activities might not be suitable for you to use in your own teaching and learning, and some of them might not be really very useful for you to be able to use in your teaching and learning. So language might be a problem because probably the accent and nature of talking of that person who is teaching might be different from the way you teach. Another point is that there is inadequate content that you might be able to use for teaching and learning. You might be interested in creating your own open educational resources to be able to fill up the gap of the content that you might have searched from the internet, but you couldn't be able to get one. So inadequate content might be one of the reasons you would like to create one. But again, we have also issues with incompatibilities to syllabus. Some of the open educational resources or free resources you see on the internet might not be really connecting to the syllabus or the lesson objectives. Now, to be able to create, to have an open educational resources that might be relevant to you, you might need to create one. That is one of the reasons we need to go for open educational resources. But again, number 4 is that there is incompatibility of learning activities. Some of the learning activities given into the freely provided open educational resources might not fit in the context where you're coming from. So this means we need to create our own open educational resources that will meet or fit into our own context as well. So now when we think of what kind of resources, we might think of images. We can be able to create our own open educational resource in the form of images, photos, using our cameras, our phones, smartphones, or our tablets. We can also create videos, record a video using your smartphone or your tablet. You can create something like a Word document of a lesson plan. I know you are always sharing lesson plans in your groups, in your communities. You can also be able to create a syllabus as well. A syllabus, you can think of creating a textbook also for others to use. But you might be creating a website as well, a guide, or anything that any teacher can be able to use as another resource. So these are some of the reasons why you need to create open educational resources. But again, the passion to be able to create open educational resources comes from the fact that we want also to create content and share with other teachers elsewhere. That is what drives us to create open educational resource. In this lesson, therefore, you will be able to create your own open educational resource.